I'll give you a frank answer. No, you can do it for short term, but there's so much life force in vegetables, and it's so important to get them as fresh as you can and not overcook them, and especially not fry them in a lot of bad oils. But you still need other nutrients. That's just, our body has so much need. So I would say no, they still need their vegetables, even if you have to grind them up and make them into a soup or whatever it may be. I still think you've got to get the wonderful fruits and vegetables into their diet, everybody's diet. Well, there's many foods. I mean, you look at the meats and the proteins, they all have amino acids. And you look at even the sugars, it has carbohydrates. Your fruits have carbohydrates, your vegetables have carbohydrates, and you got to have carbohydrate for energy. The difference is in the bioavailability. There's three things. One is stabilize. The AlphaMeta, the rice we use, it's hydrolyzed, which means it's broken down into very small particles, so it's much more easy to absorb. It's stabilized so it doesn't go rancid. It doesn't get rotten like every other grain I showed you the chart does. Those are two very, very key components: is the stabilization, the process it goes through, which is low heat, low pressure to break up the molecules. I'll tell you this one story. We did a stem cell research with the PSP and a couple other ingredients. But what happened was it was a human clinical trial, and in 5 hours, their stem cells multiplied 4 times. That's millions of stem cells. We took their blood, gave them the product, told them to go eat, go out, come back 5 hours later. They come back, their stem cells just went, every last one of them. And I called Dr. Steele and I said, well, this can't be it. I said, something's wrong here. She says, nope. What you did was you woke up the hibernating stem cells. Stem cells have this process where if they're not getting the food they need, they shut down. They go into hibernation, just like a bear does in the wintertime. They just shut down. So what you're doing with the AlphaMeta is you're waking them up. They're saying, oh my gosh, finally, I've got a good, pure food that I can metabolize. Now, most foods take energy to metabolize, right? You got to have energy for digestion. And the heavier it is, like meats and such, the more energy it takes. With this, the digestion needs little to no energy to metabolize it. So it has a positive anabolic and energetic quotient compared to foods that just require so much energy. They take energy from you, to metabolize them, to break down those amino acids, to reform them into a protein, to take that carbohydrate, provide the enzymes you need in order to metabolize it, convert it into energy. That's the key. So many products out there today, it takes too much energy rather than gives energy. I've had several thalassemia patients. I had a clinic in Thailand for a while too, and Thailand is very renowned for thalassemia. A lot of individuals, unfortunately. We saw some wonderful benefits on many levels. I can't say it'll totally reverse thalassemia, but we saw improvements of so many symptoms, and the red blood cells balancing, the inflammation being reduced. That was one of the big keys, was the inflammation, and having more energy and be more functional. There's a lot needs to be done with thalassemia, but I've seen it benefit every single individual who took it. So, and the wonderful thing about it, it is not a medication. It's not a drug. It's just a food. But I've never seen anybody, and I've had thousands of patients, have a problem with the AlphaMeta. Not one single problem, which is pretty phenomenal. If it would help, and it will absolutely help, because particularly what's happening with long-term COVID is degeneration. People are just keeling over dead. Their hearts just stop. And even kids with myocarditis and pericarditis, unfortunately, the people who are most susceptible or to death and serious complications are those with diabetes, already have cardiovascular disease, or kidney disease, whatever it may be, already compromised. But they're the ones who even need it more, because they need the energy. But getting down to the core of the question, of the answer to the question, is you've got to regenerate the cells. This is what's happening. For whatever reason, they're degenerating. So you've got to be able to get the right kind of food that's going to give your immune system enough strength to fight it, overcome it. It has to do with the immune system. So this individual who does have even the serious cases of the Omicron or whatever, God, I wish they were all taking AlphaMeta, because it not only is it going to help their immune system create the cells, all the cells it needs to balance the body, and to it's going to lower inflammation. And this is the key with this, I'll say it's a virus, is that it causes inflammation in the body, and the body attacks itself. It's called a cytokine storm. And with some people, it attacks too much, so, and it destroys more organs, glands. These people aren't getting the foods. I mean, unfortunately, you go into hospitals and you get the worst food imaginable. I went to visit a friend and I saw what they brought in: milk, which causes more inflammation, and sugar, dessert. And unfortunately, kids at school are getting a lot of the same foods. And it's just enhancing the inflammatory response and the autoimmune. So, you got to get them on good food, no doubt about it, as organic as possible, and AlphaMeta 3 times a day. My gosh, because you've got to regenerate the cells, whether it's the organs, the glands, the brain. They're finding that this long-term, we call it COVID, is leading to more Alzheimer's now. So, and brain degeneration. I could go on and on about that, but the key, as I keep saying, you've got to regenerate and lower the inflammation. And that's what AlphaMeta is all about. Defecating, I think they're detoxing. So maybe they need that, If it's too much and lasts too long, if it's diarrhea, then you need to cut back. You may be detoxing too fast. And I'm not saying everybody's going to detox, but this can happen, and it may be necessary to do so. There's no other reason that it would create a negative effect other than that, which is just a flushing. And but if it lasts too long, you got to cut back, because with too much diarrhea, you can lose essential electrolytes and minerals and such, and even throw off your microbiome, your good bacteria from the bad bacteria. So that's very important. I like it first thing in the morning with warm water, but I always start the day with a big old glass of warm water. So, I just discourage people from drinking ice cold drinks. Number one, I just sit and watch people drink Cokes and iced tea with their meals and have indigestion later, because you got to realize your gastrointestinal tract works on particular temperature to secrete the enzymes that it needs. And when you're putting ice cold water in there, you're suppressing your enzymes, especially when you're drinking with meals like that. And if you're drinking too much, you're even diluting the digestive enzymes, so they're not going to function as well. So you're not going to be able to digest your food as well. So that creates problems down the road. But yeah, I like it. I like it first thing in the morning, and then probably only take it once or twice a day. I would probably take it before meals. And I think Dr. Somchai agrees. If people take it before their meals, they're going to absorb those nutrients much more readily than, I don't want to say dilute, mixing them with other foods, which is going to take longer. I just mix in a little cup of water, warm water. Not too hot. You don't want to destroy it, but good and warm.